$1.05. All right, welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Parkside Cabin Rentals. Folks, if you are looking for a cabin that can fit a dozen people, go through Parkside Cabin Rentals. They can do it. They've got huge, huge facilities. If you're looking for just a cozy cabin for two, they got it. Parkside Cabin Rentals, beautiful views in the Smokies. I mean, if you're going to Sevier County, the best place to do it, Parkside Cabin Rentals. Give these guys a call. Dozens of layouts and also free parking in downtown Gatlinburg whenever you want to go into town. Parkside Cabin Rentals. All right, let me quickly do the introductions here because we're already behind. We have longtime sports writer in Knoxville, Bob Hodge, longtime member of this panel. Josh Ward from WNML, thanks for joining us. Glad to have you out of the hospital. You ready to talk? You got 2 full lungs today?
Just hoping to breathe some life into the show.
Good. We can use it. I can use that anytime. Ryan Callahan from GoVols247.com. I know it's your busy time of the year, Mr. Recruiting down there. And Vince Farrar from WNML. Thanks for being back with us, Vince.
Appreciate it.
All right. Let's talk about news on Jeremy Pruitt's coaching front. Kevin Shearer, the linebackers coach, special teams coordinator this past year, he is reportedly leaving Tennessee to go coach the New York Giants on Joe Judge's new staff up there. Not a complete surprise because he was the defensive coordinator in Pruitt's first year and then was kind of moved aside for Derek Ansley last year. Ryan, I'll ask you very quickly, in terms of a recruiter, how big of a hit is that, Kevin Shearer?
I wouldn't say a massive hit, but it is a hit just in the sense of the connections he has, the areas he recruits. But Tennessee's got some overlapping relationships there in the states he recruited, mostly Georgia and Alabama. So I think they'll be okay. It's a loss you can certainly make up for, but he's a guy who's gotten good results in the past and someone Jeremy Pruitt obviously trusts and had on Jay Hardy as his main recruiter. So clearly someone that you're going to have to make up for that loss, but you can do it.
Okay, I'm going to race through this so we can come back and just discuss overall. You got another couple of guys, Chris Weinke, quarterback coach, and defensive line coach Tracy Rocker. And the defensive line got better. Now, what we don't know, because no one's allowed over there to watch full practices, what we don't know is, was that Tracy Rocker's doing, or was that Tracy go stand over there and Jeremy Pruitt jumping in and working with the line? We'll never know that. I'll just say this. His position started as the worst, and it turned out to be he got something out of everybody on that list, it looked like. But Weinke and Rocker, their contracts expire this Friday, the 31st. No movement yet. Thoughts on Weinke and Rocker's future?
Well, like you said, nobody's over there to know, but I'd like to see Tracy Rocker come back because of what you talked about. I thought they were terrible at the beginning of the year, just awful. And at the end of the year, that's a serviceable SEC defensive line. So, you know, as far as the quarterback situation, I wasn't too impressed by improvement or deprovement or anything by the quarterbacks, but I'd like to see Rocker come back just simply because of the improvement the defensive line made.
Nothing against Chris Weinke. I don't know how much of
nope,
the Jared. I mean, Jared Garantano said 3 guys working with him, and he kind of looks like the same guy every year. We said this when Jim Chaney came on, though, and they talked how great it is that he's a walk-around coordinator. I would rather him be the quarterback's coach / coordinator, personally. Now, again, none of us are seeing practice, so that may just be completely all-out wrong. But from outside looking in, I know what Chaney's track record is with quarterbacks. I'd like to see him handle that gig. Thoughts on Weinke and Rocker, gentlemen?
Well, I mean, we don't get to see all of practice, but we certainly, all of us that are there, we get to see Tracy Rocker yelling at those D linemen and motivating them, and in some cases encouraging them. So he is there with those D linemen.
But that's the opening. I mean,
that's true.
Far from the entire practice sessions. All I'm getting at is they don't open it up to where you can sit there and go, yeah, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. You're seeing the opening part of it.
Right,
Go
but
ahead.
it would surprise me if it was much different the rest of the time. And I think he is key in them improving this year. The thing that you worry about, and I think there's still another step for those D linemen, is now if you change continuity with those guys that have developed under Rocker, how much does that maybe stunt the growth of the group that they have? Because I don't know if they have a star in that group right now. Maybe they do coming in this class, but it would be good to have that continuity with a position coach.
Recruiting impact of those two?
Well, that's what I would get to, is that you have 2 openings. You have some guys that can move around.
And let me go ahead and mention that. David Johnson's spot of the running back coach still hasn't been replaced either. Joe Osuet, who has been kind of an field assistant with the team, one of the support staff. He is out on the recruiting trail. He's kind of doing the duties of it right now, and a lot of people think you can move him in there, but that Johnson slot is still open right now. So.
Yeah, so the coaching side is really important for all the reasons that have been laid out. You want to see steps taken at quarterback, the defensive line development to continue, but I think Jeremy Pruitt also wants to see recruiting take a big step forward. They've done a good job there. This class finished out nicely. Ryan, tell me if you disagree, but I think Jeremy Pruitt looks at it, we need to recruit at an even higher level, which is something you factor in with these coaches you either have to replace or will have to replace.
Well, and that's one of the things, Jay Hardy, the in-state guy that everybody was really upset about Tennessee missing out on, one of the big things he pointed to at the end, he knew Rodney Garner well at Auburn, not as good a relationship with Tracy Rocker, and I don't know if he's the elite recruiter that you see at a lot of SEC schools. So as a defensive line coach, you ideally would like a better recruiter there. If you get better players, that unit looks a lot better on the field, period. So I think that's one of the things you got to think about here. Winky's, I think, seen as a good up-and-coming coach for Tennessee on both fronts, but still developing as a recruiter. I think as a quarterback's coach, good results so far, but again, still developing, and that leads to some questions at least about what to do there.
And we may not see any movement, especially if it's school to school this close to the National Signing Day, right? Usually you're going to put those off until afterwards. So I think that's part of the reason why you haven't seen Jeremy Pruitt fill that David Johnson position yet. I think that's when you'll see more movement.
Bob, we know what fans want. They want Montario Hardesty or Jay Graham,
Sure.
a former Vol back, to replace David Johnson as your running backs coach. Do you think that really buys anybody any time whatsoever having those guys on the staff?
No. No, I think we've seen in the past, if you've got Tennessee assistant coaches from Tennessee
Or head coaches.
as long as everything's good, you're good. If it goes bad, you might as well have gone to Slippery Rock or Schenectady. It just doesn't matter. I don't think it helps you to sell your school if you were, now Bobby Scott's disagreeing with me.
Yeah,
'Cause
most
he
VFLs.
went to Georgia though, didn't he?
He was
he
from-
lived
yeah, he's from Georgia.
So I just don't think it makes that much of a difference. I would get the guy who is the best recruiter, and you still got to coach some too. So I would look at that. If one of those two, Hardesty or Graham, okay, great. If not,
Find the best guy.
You don't have to have a Tennessee guy.
It'll be interesting to see how they split this money. We got to catch a break here, but it will be interesting to see if Rocker and Winky go. That's now 4 slots open on a staff that, I don't know that you needed to have a lot of change over there to begin with. It seemed like things were going in the right direction here the back half of this year, but it will be interesting to see how they divvy up that money moving forward, because you can save money if you go the Osavet route. You would think that would be a guy that isn't going to require a lot, whereas if you go get Jay Graham from Texas A&M, you're going to be spending more than you did on Johnson. So how do you divvy up that money? Going to be interesting to see. All right, very good. When we come back, I want to talk more about recruiting. The biggest, we're 10 days away from signing day. So Ryan Callahan's going to give us the 3 biggest names on the board, and we'll discuss if any of those guys would be impacted by some of these coaching changes. Come on back on the Sports Source.